Well, the summer is on its way, and well, another talking technical, and thank you for all the requests. But let's kick off. There's plenty to go through. I hope I can tackle all the shares that everybody requested. But let's kick off with Kumba. Now, Kumba is one of those counters that I can remember many years ago. It was around, I think, 25 Rand, and everybody thought that the company will go under. But what happened in the meantime, I mean, this is now a stern performer, and they printed money. And while China is almost, you can say, just buying the iron ore like you can't believe, this company will do well. And of course, remember, oil also had a beautiful rally, and that spurred a lot of rallies in the commodity prices. Well, let's have a look at Kumba here. Joe is asking about Kumba. And Joe, if you look at the share, if you just have a look here from June 14, now Joe is actually looking to buy the share. Now, if you look at it from June 14, it was at around 560, and you will not believe it, in a matter of almost 3 months, it almost went up 300 Rand per share. What I'm seeing here is that the momentum is beautiful to the upside. There's nothing wrong. If you look at this trend line, and I always use a simple trend line just to say to me, Frans, is the uptrend in place or is it a downtrend? And you can clearly see here that uptrend is 100% intact. And if you look at it, you can see here that, I mean, since June it just went higher and higher and all the way up, nothing to hold it back. And what I'm seeing is it reached this 800 level. Now, usually what you find close to a level, a psychological level, the share can maybe pull back a little bit. So be a little bit careful. I think that's why you've seen this doji. But for me, I will not buy it. Go unless you are a momentum trader and you'd like to buy it. And buy it above the high of this candle, then you chase the momentum to the up. That's above 803 Rand and 38 cents. Then it can go actually higher, because if you used another line here and you do this and you just combine all the resistances, then you can see we are beautifully in an uptrend in a ascending channel. Now, what's your target to the top? If it comes down and rallies up, it can eventually go up to 860 to meet up with this line. So yes, if you want to buy it, use a stop loss of, and there's my stop loss, 775 Rand and 30 cents to protect capital. Otherwise, I will not buy it. I'll wait for a proper pullback and see where it can go to. Now, my proper pullback will be around this level, because this was the previous high, and there you are. It will be around there. I will wait patiently for the share to come back to about 730 Rand. But I think what Joe is seeing here, he's seeing this head and shoulder here, inverse head and shoulder. There's a tiny left shoulder, there's the massive head, there's the right shoulder, and he wants to participate now. But Joe, just stick to that stop loss. Well, let's look at Anglo American. Gordon asked about Anglo American. It should be the same story, because Anglo American makes a lot of money out of Kumba. Remember, they're the owners of Kumba. Just to give you an idea here, look at this beautiful lamp pole formation. I mean, from June the 14th, from 530 Rand to 680 Rand. That's almost a 25% gain in a matter of 2.5 months. And what I see here is that we can maybe get back, according to this high, and that high is sitting at 693 Rand and 47 cents. If it gets there, we can maybe see a double top, but at the moment the momentum is up. And can you see this little gap? Maybe I can just illustrate that. While this little gap is open, there's the gap. Let's just show it for the viewers, then they can see what I'm talking about. It's that little gap. There you are. Just want to draw it in there. There you are. Well, Gordon, the momentum is clearly to the upside, and while this gap is open, I'm going to give you the levels now. While this gap between 647 Rand, that's the low of that shadow there, and the high of this candle, this beautiful shaven top candle, 643 Rand 74. While this gap is open, momentum is to the upside. The only thing that do worry me is that I've seen this little inverse hammer. This can make me a little bit nervous that there's maybe some sellers around. But I mean, if it goes above this level of 680.86, it can still surprise us all and go to this previous high of 693.47. So while this gap is open, momentum to the top is in place. But always keep in mind, we as technical analysts believe that a gap will close either today or tomorrow or sometime in the future. And interesting question, somebody asked me the other day, if I prefer daily charts or intraday charts for gaps. I always like to look at daily charts, so end of day charts. I believe those gaps are more important than the intraday gaps of 60 minutes or 30 minutes or so. Well, let's have a look at Fred's question. Fred is looking at Ellies. He wants to know what he can do there. I just want to just go there. Ellies. Let's have a look. Fred, we saw a beautiful rally here. Remember, that was part of that announcement on their BEE scheme. Maybe guys can remember that Ellies was one of those counters many years ago that everybody loved. But what I see here, look at this massive consolidation that we had here, Fred, where the chart almost did absolutely nothing, and then it actually rallied away on that announcement. Now, a rally from, let's call it 9 cents to 24 cents, beautiful rally. So I will not go into it now. Same story, the trend is clearly to the upside. For me, it must get above 24 cents to push even higher. But, I mean, this share is coming from a very, very low base. Let's just have a look where it was before, just to give you an idea. Please. Well, this is a weekly chart, of course. Just go back in history here, and then you can see, there you are. If you start to look at Ellies in this context, it is early days. For me, if you want to chase the momentum, yes, you can do so. Let's go there just to show it in context. Here's a weekly chart of it. Ellies was in his heyday. Can you believe it? There you are. Almost a 10 Rand share. So if you buy it, yes, you can buy it with a long-term view. Make use of a stop loss of, let's call it 15 cents. That's on a weekly chart. And there's plenty upside potential. But I think let's just give you a stop loss. So if we're wrong, then we know we cannot burn our fingers. I will use my stop loss of, there you are, 12 cents. I'll use my stop loss of 12 cents. But I mean, you can easily use this chart to give you some nice upside. Let's maybe just put in a 40-week moving average here. It will be interesting because that can maybe say to us that Ellies is on some sort of a recovery here. Let's have a look here. That's interesting. Oops, sorry. Fred, it turned its 40-week moving average into a support. There you are. And for me, that is very, very bullish. So maybe you can look at that one, Fred, for a long time. I think just stick your stop loss. I think that will be the best to do. Well, let's have a look at Naspers. I mean, this company was the darling of the market, and suddenly everybody's worried about it. I was worried about the share already a few years ago because I just thought it's unrealistic the way the share is just performing. We sometimes find it in markets that shares just go high wire and just outperform day after day. One of the other shares now that's doing that is Klerk. Nothing can hurt that company. It just goes higher on the charts every day. But let's have a look at Naspers here. The big thing here, we know that the China regulators are pushing down on these companies with plenty of regulations. But what we see here is about a week ago, we saw this ugly sell-off. I think it was 8% and a 10% in 2 days. But then we saw this dragonfly doji here right at the bottom. And the low of that was 2,478 Rand and 68 cents. That was the low. It rallied beautifully up and now it's coming back. Look at these numerous gaps. There's a gap and there's a gap. And that tells you that the share is a little bit uncertain because it made quite a few gaps. But for me personally, while it's above this little candle here, while it is above this low, and that is that 2,478 Rand 68 cents, while it is above that, I believe that the share can maybe recover from here. Look at these ugly candles. Is it a teardrop candle, a gap, and that's negative. While you're holding on to the stock, I think you can maybe be happy, but when it breaks below this line, it can still go lower. And always keep in mind, a share that's still trading around 2,601 Rand, it can easily surprise you and go a little bit lower than what you're thinking. So be nervous. I think Naspers must turn around. For me, it must hold above this level, and importantly, it must start to close this gap. And that gap is between 2,717 Rand 65 cents, and the gap will close at 2,790 Rand on top. Let's look at Jacques' request, and that is on Goldfields. He believes that Goldfields wants to go up, and he wants to buy the share. Let's have a look. Jacques, if we look at the share here, Goldfields, remember that's a counter. I mean, they've got some wonderful ore reserves. And, well, Jacques, you are quite right. It looks like there is a turnaround here. The share was on a low of 124 Rand just a few weeks ago. That was on June the 28th. And it's starting to turn around. And for me, it's quite interesting. If you look at this chart, look at this trend line here at the bottom. It tells you that it is busy recovering. For me, we are in a beautiful ascending channel here. Let's have a look there. There you are. There's the ascending channel. And if it breaks below 140, I'll be nervous. But for me, in the meantime, it can easily go up. So I like the chart. You can buy it, but make use of a stop loss of 139.69. And my upward target, if it breaks up above this line of 148.34, it can go to 159.16. Well, we're out of time. Visit our website, www.fransklerk.com, and we'll chat again.